Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NBA Front Office Show. Happy to have you here. If you're joining us over on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. Follow us over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts as well. I'm Trevor Lane, joined by Keith Smith. Keith, it was about 24 hours ago that a Shams Charania report came out saying that Tom Thibodeau was safe with the Knicks. And here we are. He was not safe at all. The Knicks have decided to fire. I think that's just where we need to lead this off. I couldn't believe it when the news came through, the Knicks moving on from Tom Thibodeau.
Yeah, Tim's being safe was shorter than your vacation was. Like it was far shorter than your vacation. It was like, man, Trevor didn't even go on that long of a vacation.
No,
Tim's end of his life as the Knicks coach ended very quickly. So yeah, I was gonna do something like play the they're back, from what is that, Poltergeist or whatever?
Oh yeah,
that is. Or I was gonna do the the boys are back in town, but every time we do that, we get in trouble. So
yeah, the damn YouTube copyright strikes. I was gonna Thin Lizzy, the boys are back in town was a good one. I was thinking about Aerosmith's Back in the Saddle Again, or AC/DC's Back in Black. We have all these great options. Damn copy. I think though there might be something where if you do it for less than 5 seconds,
yeah, maybe I don't know.
I'll have to figure that out.
We got in trouble once when I just sang, and it was like I'm only singing like words, and I don't even sing well. So
they're just mad that you were singing, and YouTube was like, oh, they heard you sing, and they said, no, we got to shut this down.
Yeah, they're like, we'll put up with the Marvel talk and the television show talk, but once you start singing, that's it. We're done with this. So yes, welcome into ostensibly a basketball show here. So the nonsense started early. Yeah, I was surprised too. I would not have been surprised if it happened like immediately, like within the day after they lost. But yeah, when Shams said everybody says he's safe, the players were all like, hey man, Jalen Brunson was like, is this even a real question? Like, of course we want coach back, and here we are. You got let go, and it was funny because I thought it was interesting the way the Knicks read with we're very serious about winning a title. You weren't serious a week ago. No, now you're serious about it. Okay, that makes sense. And then just the timing wise, where do you go? Who are you going to go hire? What are the situation they're going to be? But yeah, I don't know. You fall behind, I guess, 1 million points in every playoff game, and eventually it came back to bite them in a loss, and that's, I guess, part of why they're moving on.
Do you think the Knicks already know who they're hiring, and that would be part of the weirdness of the timing? Is they know somebody that they want, and they need to make this move now in order to get that person?
Yeah, it could be that always is something that comes up with coach moves, and we're going to talk about some GM stuff in a little bit, and I think there was some of that at play in there as well, and that could be. I've already seen a lot of the speculation online. Could it be Michael Malone? What about Frank Vogel? There's even some have said, what about Jeff Van Gundy? Had a really good year back coaching with the Clippers, and could he run it back for a second time with the Knicks, which would be very interesting as a throwback kind of move there. But I don't know. It's going to be to upgrade on Tibbs. I was critical of a lot of stuff, including the minutes in the regular season. I didn't think the offense was always very imaginative. I thought they played very slow. And then I thought some of the defensive stuff wasn't very good. All that said, he got them to the Eastern Conference Finals and did make a lot of changes throughout the course of this year, including in the playoffs, relying on his bench more than he did in the regular season. So I think this one feels a little bit tough for me to swallow because it just doesn't really feel right.
Yeah, to me, there has to be somebody that they're very confident in, because it's not just that you're firing Tom Thibodeau and that you are essentially saying that we don't believe that he's the coach that's going to bring us to a championship. You are so firmly in belief of that being a fact, that Tom Thibodeau is not going to get you to a championship, that you're willing to now pay him. I believe it was Ian Begley who had $30 million.
Yeah, because he just did an extension.
He just did it. So you're going to pay him $30 million to not coach your basketball team. You have to be pretty damn sure that he's not the guy if you're going to make that move. So I do wonder, or that whoever it is that you've got, whoever's, behind door number one, is that guy that's going to take you to that place.
Yeah, in the Knicks, right, because there's obviously been, in the wake of losing to the Pacers, there's been a lot of what should they do with the roster? Should they
Mhm.
trade player X and Y and Z and all that stuff? And I've been kind of holding firm with, I would probably more or less run it back, maybe make some moves around the edges of the rotation a little bit, beef up your depth in a couple key spots. But I don't know. I don't think I'd be making drastic moves. One, this team made 3 major trades in the span of 1 year, with the Anunoby trade, the Bridges trade, and the Towns trade. That was trade deadline, start of the offseason, and then the very tail end of the offseason. So you were really in 2 transaction cycles. You made 3 major trades to get those guys. In that they all worked out pretty good, I think. And a couple of those guys, are they flawed? Sure. No, I'm not going to say they're not, but still really, really good players. And I think, again, with the state of the Eastern Conference, we've talked about this a lot. Pacers probably aren't going anywhere. Cavs, same kind of thought process. You don't need to do anything major. Just run it back and you're probably fine. You'll probably be right, around where you were this year, if not better. And the same thing with the Knicks. So I guess if you're thinking, all right, maybe we can't make major roster changes, let's do this. But there was also some subsequent reporting that came out. Well, I guess it predated the firing of Tibbs, that the Knicks are trying to make a landmark move,
Addition,
whatever that means. I don't even know, what that's like Woj's thesaurus terms at the draft.
They're laser focused on drafting this player.
They're locked in on. But I don't know. I don't get the I guess you make the can't fire all the players, fire the coach, but I don't know. It just seems a little hasty to me.
So I have a thought there, and that's, just kind of connecting a few dots. Kevin Durant is very available out there. And, Karl Anthony Towns was not, he had his issues in the Eastern Conference Finals. And the Suns, the rumor has been that they want a starting 5. And we also know that Cat is fairly close to Devin Booker. I do wonder if there's some type of connection there that would see Mitchell Robinson back in the starting center slot, Kevin Durant added to the Knicks roster, Cat winding up in Phoenix, and obviously at least one more team would need to be involved, if not more. But I do wonder if there's a roundabout way for those teams to connect and make something happen there. If to me, this is the kind of move you make if you're pretty convinced that you're not quite there. Maybe this is it. It's just you're making a move with the coach. But based on recent history, like you said, within a year, 3 big moves, it wouldn't surprise me if one of those guys, whether it's Bridges, whose contract expires this next year, whether it's, I don't think it'll be Anunoby or of course, Jalen Brunson, but I do think there could be a fairly sizable move here coming for the Knicks. Not necessarily that they should, because I tend to agree with you that sometimes the grass is greener on the other side and you can tinker too much with a roster, and consistency, chemistry, it is a thing, and it's something that shouldn't be overlooked. But I wonder if the Knicks, if this is just move 1 and move 2 is still to come in the next few weeks.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if it is something big like KD. I'm sure if Giannis decides he wants to be traded, the Knicks will be involved. That one's a little harder for me because they don't have any draft capital.
Yeah.
So unless it's been reported that the Bucks want some of their picks back in a potential Giannis trade. So yeah, maybe you could rope the Pelicans in or the Trailblazers and get some of those picks routed back to Milwaukee by sending a good player their way. But I don't know, that gets really kind of tough to sort through with that one. Worth noting though, with your little connecting dots with Towns and KD, Towns and Booker have been very open. They wanted to play together.
Yep.
They really, really wanted to play together. And do you remember who the third guy they wanted to play with was?
D'Angelo Russell.
D'Angelo Russell is a free agent.
Free agent.
So, maybe they could make that work. And
but the Suns just went through a season where they didn't have any defense, and you're going to put Booker, Towns.
Yeah, you're going to play even less defense. Yeah. That part I'm a little worried about. I mean, offensively, you could probably be pretty awesome. But the other thing that's important to note, KD makes a little more than Towns. So Towns for KD straight up works on the Sun side. That's the harder side because they're constrained as the team that's over the second apron. The Knicks have enough clearance under the second apron, but also can easily get there under the first apron that they could do that trade straight up and make that work. And now, presumably, something else would move somewhere.
They'd have to move
in
some
there.
salary to get under because they're
Yeah.
already projected to be over the first apron.
Yeah, not by very much though. And
Yeah.
and part of that is there's like PJ Tucker's option in there.
Right.
Like, see you later, PJ Tucker. Like, we're gonna move. So I think they'd be okay to do something like that. Like they could do that without having to be like, well, now we have to give up Mikal Bridges to somebody or Josh Hart. Like you don't even have to touch another rotation piece to get to where you need to be.
So that'll be interesting to see if that's ultimately a path that the Knicks go down. Keith, I thought that the Knicks last summer, the moves that they made, and we look at Mikal Bridges, we look at the Towns move, it was basically let's be real, it was to beat the Celtics, right? It was to beat your Celtics. That was their, and they did, and it worked. But that was their motivation, right? Was they got beat by the Celtics. They got exploited in a lot of ways by the Celtics, and they said, we can't run the same roster back. We need to make changes that will specifically allow us to hang with Boston. And during the regular season, it looked like they did not accomplish that goal. During the playoffs, they did.
Yep.
Now, though, I look at the amount of parity that's in the league, and my concern from the side of for Knicks fans, my concern would be, again, reacting to, well, we lost to the Pacers. Okay, let's put together a roster that we think can really hang with the Pacers. I think there's too much parity in the NBA anymore to really gear up for one team. You remember back in the day when teams were stocking extra 7-foot tall human beings to throw at Shaq, and it was just, we need to make sure we have guys to put on Shaq. I don't think in today's NBA you can do that. I think you have to build the best roster that you can build, and then do you hope you get the right matchups in the playoffs? Yeah, but that's just kind of the way it is now with the amount of parity that we have in the NBA. I don't know that you can constantly react to, and I'm not saying for sure the Knicks will do this, but that would be my concern. I don't think you can just react to the team that just beat you and say, okay, well, how do we beat that? Because you're going to create other problems with other matchups that you may not be foreseeing right now.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. And as you pulled up the spot track, I'll just shout it out here on our cap sheets. We flipped it over. So it now defaults to the 25-26 league year on the multi-year view as the first year. So that'll be next season. That was just by popular request because a lot of people are like, whatever, this season's done. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I would not. I don't know that you've now fired the coach. Go get your new coach. And again, moves around the edges, sure, but I'm not making major changes to this roster. I'm gonna give them another year together and see, can it get a little bit better? Can we do some different stuff with a new coach that puts us in a better position to succeed next year to break through to the finals? I also think it's a little silly. It's not like this Knicks team, when Boston for like 5 years in a row was like, we're in these finals, and couldn't break through. And it's like, all right, we need to actually make real changes. This is like your second year with kind of this group, really your first year with this group, because Towns and Bridges weren't there a year ago. So, like, do we need to break it all up so quickly? Like, let's have a little bit more patience. And 100% with you, you can't be building teams to try to take down one other team. And I guess if you're a West team, you could kind of be looking for moves that kind of counter the Thunder a little bit more so, because they're not probably going anywhere for a little while. But in the most part, I'm with you. Just build the best roster you can and move forward.
Yeah. Yep. That's all you can do. All you can do. All right. Let's move on here. Let's take a look at another person. Now, one guy gets fired, another guy gets hired. Hired guy. The Jazz hire. That was from The Office. Jazz hire Austin Ainge to be their president of basketball operations. He will be the final decision maker now. Though I have to wonder, I'm assuming Danny Ainge still has supreme control here.
Yeah, I don't know. They're saying Austin has full control. Danny Ainge is still there. He is the CEO of basketball operations, which, let's just keep, I won't, if I ever run a team and I'm offered, I'm going to demand that my title is Supreme Galactic Commander of basketball operations. Like, that's it. Like, that's going to be what my title is. And I'm not taking
What's the hierarchy? Like,
I don't know. We'll figure it out later. But it's getting silly with this, title inflation stuff. But yeah, Danny Ainge is still there. But I'm guessing what this is about is he's probably sunsetting his career a little bit here, moving into less involvement day to day. He'll still be around and still doing stuff. Clearly, Ryan Smith, the owner, has final say. All owners do. But they're saying it's Austin Ainge's team to run now. Like, he's going to run. For those who don't know, yes, it's Danny Ainge's son. He was with the Celtics for, I think it was 14 years. Started out as a coach in the G League. With when they were the Maine Red Claws, now the Maine Celtics, moved into Boston's front office. And for the last several years, he's been the guy who has run their draft and international scouting. So that's been what he has mostly focused on with the Celtics. And clearly I'm biased, so I will own that. But Boston has done really, really well drafting rotation level guys late in the first round. They, hit on a lot of guys that were Robert Williams, Grant Williams, Peyton Pritchard. Aaron Nesmith didn't develop in Boston, but popped, and that was a late lottery pick. But they've done well with that. And then internationally, they've had a lot of guys who've come over and become contributors to the team when they came over. Primarily, the guy most known for that is Daniel Tice, and that's what Austin Ainge was a big part of. So that's. You bring him in there. Justin Zanuck has great pro personnel experience for the Jazz as the GM. He stays in place, but it sounds like this is Austin Ainge's team to run.
Well, and there's some belief that this is also a signal that the Jazz want to move away from a tanking era. Now, the draft lottery
Did
didn't
you see
go
the quote? No.
What was the exact? I saw it, but I'm a little jet lagged. What was the actual quote?
It was it was a while. Sorry, I put it in a group chat, and it was a very a while ago. Now I can't find it. Oh no.
Well, while you're digging, the
Sure.
general idea is that the Jazz want to move away from tanking, but they did not get the lottery luck they were hoping for. Cooper Flagg will not be a Utah Jazz, and so now it'll be interesting to see what moves they're going to make. You look at this roster. That would suggest that they hang on to Lauri Markkanen, that if they do want to try to win right now, what does that mean for John Collins? What does that mean for Jordan Clarkson, for Colin Sexton, for those types of guys? I don't know that this roster, though, even with whoever they're going to get with their fifth pick in the draft, is going to be really ready to go win right now. Although I think one of the interesting things, Keith, is when we look at this market and you look at how many teams are out there in the East that right now see a wide open Eastern Conference and are saying, and we'll talk about the Toronto Raptors in just a minute here. How many teams say we want to go for it? If the Jazz are also more in go for it mode, it makes me wonder, where are the sellers? That will be an interesting dynamic to see. At some point, I think that void will be filled. Maybe it'll be a surprise team that will sell that we wouldn't expect. But if the Jazz are flipping to becoming more of a team that wants to go for and wants to try to win, that'll be interesting to see how that plays out on the market in terms of one more team that we would have looked at as a potential seller, maybe even with a Markkanen or someone like that, maybe now not go that direction.
Yeah, and this was the quote relates to a lot of what you were saying. Was he was asked directly, like, will you guys do manipulate minutes and games played and all that to basically, are you going to tank? It was it'd be a roundabout way of saying, are you going to tank? And he said, you won't see that this year. And then the combining other things he said was basically like, yeah, the Jazz are not going to tank this year, but they're probably not going to have to because the West is so good. So they're probably just going to be bad naturally. But I think there's a little bit of a disconnect there, because if Utah hadn't pulled some of the stuff they did to tank, they're nowhere near as bad as their record was.
Sure.
They could have probably won. They could have been like Portland and won in the 30s. And then you win in the 30s and you're like, all right, we're a move or two away from being in the 40s. And now we're in contention for a spot in the playing tournament and all that. I don't know that that's going to be how it goes. I think that can be a little bit dangerous to go in with that line of thinking, simply because, like you said, you've got a lot of these guys. But the reality is, look at this cap sheet. I'm glad you pulled it up. After this upcoming season, outside of Markkanen at $46 million, which is whatever, this is as clean of a cap sheet as you can really have.
Yeah.
In the NBA, because Collins will be gone, Sexton, Clarkson, KJ Martin, and then it's a whole bunch of guys on rookie scale deals and non-guaranteed deals. So they're going to be, no matter what they really do this year, unless this summer they start trading guys for super long-term money and all this, you're going to be talking about a team that we're going to be talking about them having 80, 90 million in cap space a year from now, because that's going to be the position they're going to be in. And that's not a bad spot to be in, I think, if you're really trying to reset pretty heavily.
Yeah, absolutely. And it tells us that if that is really their goal, I mean, as long as you're not taking on long-term money, or if you are, you're being compensated for it, you could still look to move John Collins, these types of guys, and not say we're not tanking, we're still trying to win. But look, we knew these guys were going to be moving on after a year. We wanted to get value for them.
Or maybe the move is you pivot and start using some of these salaries more so than like true like basketball value, but salary matching and some of all these extra draft picks they have coming, and go get a player, right? Because you got Collins and Sexton combined, that's 46 million almost in salary matching. Put that together in a deal, and with a couple picks, you could really get a player if you want to do that. I personally think they're more than one other really good player away. I mean, if it was Giannis or something, but they're not going to do that. So I think that's where it gets a little bit tricky to, what would the move be to that's kind of the all-in type move. I don't think they're anywhere near close enough. I like Markkanen, but I don't know that we're like, Lauri Markkanen's right there already to get us there, get one more guy and we're good. So I'd favor the slow build, or ideally the move of, all right, we moved Collins and his 26 million expiring for a guy who's a 30 million expiring, but we get a draft pick too. And that's where one, our guys got 2 years left and we got a draft pick. I'd be all right with a move like that.
Yeah, agreed. Something like that might make sense for the Utah Jazz. But again, moving into a new era in Utah. Not moving into a new era, at least front office wise. Tim Connolly expects to stay with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Despite coming up short against the Thunder, this is still a Wolves team that I think made some strides. Anthony Edwards is clearly a star on the rise. He continues to get better and better and better. I think there's some interesting things going on there in Minnesota that's going to require, I know there was some talk, Chris Finch saying, no, we want to bring everybody back. We're talking about Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Naz Reid and Julius Randle, and that's what the coach is supposed to say. I think there's going to have to be some delicate maneuvering in Minnesota, and that's going to fall on Tim Connolly to try to sort through all of that and get this team to a spot where they don't sacrifice too much flexibility while still keeping their key pieces.
Yeah, and this is a big summer for them. You've got, I know you're pulling it up right now. Yep. You've got Julius Randle with a big player option. You've got Naz Reid with a player option. Nickeil Alexander-Walker is a straight free agent now this summer. You've already got Edwards and Gobert on big money, Jaden McDaniels. So they're a very, very expensive team. And I think, Conley built the team. Now let them see it through. Let them see through to what is next, because this isn't one of those positions where it's like, we always kind of joke like, good Lord, don't give this guy another year. Please, shut off his cell phone service. Like, no more letting him talk trades or anything.
Right. He's
built a team that's made it to the West Finals twice in a row. And it kind of goes back to our Knicks conversation. We don't need to break teams up immediately. That said, they've got some stuff they could do.
Can tinker.
Could you make, move Randall or Reed and get somebody else in instead? Who knows with that, but I think they're probably okay. There's a world where the play for Randall and Reed both could be opt in and then extend after they opt in, much like Gobert did a couple years ago. That could be the play. You could see them opt out and just re-sign to deals, especially Randall. What if Randall opted in and said, all right, I'll take 25 million average annual value, or even just 25 million next year, save you 5 million. And Reed was like, you know what, I'll opt in instead of taking more money now. And now that gives you a little bit more clearance to re-sign Nickeil Alexander-Walker and more or less run it back. But I thought Connolly was interesting, where not only did he say he's staying, he said they expect to make, maybe a big move and be players. Could that be Kevin Durant? Maybe. Who knows, right? That could be something that comes. It sounds like, by all accounts, they went at least far enough down the road that it was a real conversation. Yeah. And then I think what happens is, we talk about this all the time. It's very hard to make it, especially these were 2 second apron teams. It was going to be really hard to make that trade in season. But now what you can do is, all right, we got these two guys. Now or two teams rather. We kind of have the framework of it. Now we've got other teams that can help us facilitate a way they maybe couldn't, or maybe the Wolves know Randall's opting out, and now we're not a second apron team anymore. We can kind of make things work a little bit. That's a little off because it's not factoring in all the options and stuff.
Right. And so maybe there's something they need to do there in order to drop down a little bit. But then they've got some tough decisions. What happens with Nickeil Alexander-Walker? What happened? I mean, there's already talk we saw yesterday, or maybe it was the day before, about him potentially being a full MLE guy, a $14 million. Like things could get a little tricky for the Wolves, but I do think there's some tinkering this team could do. Maybe they wind up being the team that lands Kevin Durant. Again, they had interest during the season. Sometimes that does bleed through into the summer, and then stuff ultimately gets done. But navigating all of this is not going to be easy. Like, for example, right, when we just talked about Austin Ainge. He's looking at that cap sheet ahead, and he's just smiling, and he's going, oh, man, this is smooth sailing ahead. I've got all these different options and everything. Tim Connolly is going to have to thread that needle. Whatever decisions he makes, they're going to have to be done very, very carefully in order to fit all of these salaries together. If he's going to make a trade, the eye on the cap is going to have to be very, very precise here with this roster. They're going to have to be careful with how this team is assembled, what pieces they put together. Not nearly as much flexibility as, say, the Jazz have a year from now. The Wolves, it's a tall order, but Tim Connolly, also known as one of the better executives around the NBA. So I think he's certainly up to the task. And this is part of why I think for the Wolves, it's important to retain him, because you need a steady hand at the wheel right now, given where they're at currently with their cap situation.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think when you are in this world, this is going to test how long can we stay in the second apron for. Boston is already sending all the signals that they're going to work to get out from under it. Phoenix is probably stuck there to some extent for a little bit. But the Wolves can make it. They could make a conscious choice this summer. We got to get out of the second apron. We need to start working this a little bit differently. Or they could make the choice, let's push in and we'll stay over, and picks get moved to the end of the first round and picks get frozen and all the stuff that happens. We'll deal with all that when we get there. But for now, let's push in around it. And it's going to be really fun to watch the play out. I want to circle back to one other thing. We talked about this a little bit when we were talking about Tibbs. Was he fired because they knew they had a coach they wanted? Remember, the Denver Nuggets still had an open GM, president, whatever you want to call it, front office leader position. We don't know for sure, but Conley was one of the names that was mentioned. Could he go back to Denver?
Right.
And then could they have had interest in Austin Ainge? Could that be where, all right, we're working a little bit quicker this way to lock guys up? And Conley is more of his decision because he has an option if he wants to be around or not. But that was something that I wanted to circle back around to, because I said I would when we're going to talk GM stuff.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. Okay, let's jump over. Let's go to the Toronto Raptors.
Yeah.
Maybe another look, we talked about it. 29 teams will be interested in Giannis, but hearing that Giannis and the Raptors have mutual interest, that makes it that much more. If Giannis says, I would like to go there, I would like to go to a team that Masai Ujiri is building. There's been reports that the Raptors are essentially going to make no one on their roster untouchable, particularly if they are looking into trade for Giannis. This, in some ways, reminds me a little bit of the way the Raptors looked at things ahead of the Kawhi acquisition.
Yep.
And so this to me could wind up being a really interesting landing spot, particularly if Giannis is determined to stay in the Eastern Conference. Maybe this is the solution to that.
Yeah, you could put together a package of interesting draft picks. The Raptors own all their own firsts, so you could really throw a bunch of draft picks in the deal and some players who are actually pretty good that the Bucks could at least sell as, hey, we're not going to be terrible. They're certainly not going to be as good, but we're going to be okay, because, all right, Ingram's not going anywhere. He just extended. Scotty Barnes isn't going anywhere, just extended. But then I would say after those two at the top of the list, everybody else probably available in a trade. RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickly, but Pirtle maybe, because is that good with Pirtle, Giannis, Barnes, and Ingram? Boy, that's not a lot of shooting.
Right.
That starts to get a little bit rough. But then you get guys like Grady Dick, Jacoby Walter, former first rounders that are interesting players, even Ochai Agbaji, who played very well this year for the Raptors too. So a lot of ways this could go where very quickly it's all right, we put together the matching salary and we're making a trade happen and we go. And the Bucks might be in a position where like Barrett and Pirtle together gets them Giannis, and then maybe they're like, hey, you know what? We'll put in Grady Dick and Ochai Agbaji, and we'll also take Bobby Portis or something like that, or we'll eat Pat Connaughton's contract or whatever it is that they need to do. Because you're right, Masai, not afraid to take the home run cut. Like he'll step up there and swing for the fences and say, let's go. And even that, I mean, he did it with Kawhi when Kawhi was like, hey, I don't know if I'm going to stay here. And he's like, that's fine. We'll figure it all out. And they figured it out by winning a title. And then he walked away, but you won a title. So, and I just want to say a month ago when we started all the Giannis discussion stuff, I threw out the Raptors because of the Masai Ujiri connection to Giannis and the fact that he wouldn't be afraid. And then since then, it's only grown stronger. Not saying it's going to happen by any means, because a lot of teams are going to be involved and you're going to have a bunch of teams offering probably crazy stuff for Giannis, but it's not so crazy that we're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Why would they do that?
Right, exactly. And you know, when we're looking at the Raptors and could they go get Giannis? Yeah, they've got the pieces they could stack up. They can go get it done. But like if you spoke to somebody in every team's front office, they would have some level of interest in Giannis.
Yeah.
Again, Giannis having interest back, obviously that does matter, but I wouldn't look at this and say, oh, this is clearly it's happening. The path is there for Giannis to wind. You know what I mean? Like it.
Yeah, you don't need to print your Giannis Raptors jerseys yet.
Exactly. It could wind up happening, but at this point, and maybe I'm a little bit surprised at this. We still don't know if Giannis wants out of Milwaukee.
That's it. Yeah,
we thought we were going to know that like 2 weeks ago, and we still don't know. So, I mean, we have to clear that hurdle first, and then we could start figuring this out. Although I'll say this, though, we're getting closer to the NBA draft. We're what, 3 weeks away, roughly?
3 weeks from tomorrow.
3 weeks from tomorrow. So the NBA draft it's getting closer. The draft is, well, it's not a deadline. If you are the Bucks, and rumors are out there that they're already kind of taking a peek at some of the lottery picks, right?
Yeah.
Doing their due diligence. If you're the Bucks, you probably want to get this done ahead of the draft so you know who either you're picking or you're telling a team to pick for you. You want to have this done before the draft. If one of the major assets you're going to get in this trade, or one of the assets, is a draft pick in this draft, you want to have this done so you are the one making that selection, not the Raptors pick a guy they like and a week later you're coming to terms on a deal, but maybe it's a guy that you had lower down on your board than they did. It gets messy when that happens. So the draft, while it's by no means a deadline, I think it is an added urgency bringer, I suppose, for lack of a better term. It adds urgency to the situation, the fact that the draft is coming up.
Yeah, and if it was like the nightmare scenario for the other 29 teams of Giannis to the Thunder for draft picks only, mostly, like you don't really care because it's late picks in the draft, so it's like whatever. I mean, you do because they do have that one higher pick, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like if it was like a team that's picking super late, you're like, man, whatever. We're not going to really stress too much about that. But yeah, when you're talking a lottery pick, you want to be telling them, pick this guy for us, and then we get hat shenanigans and all the other foolishness where we all know the guy's never going to play for the team.
Yeah.
You're like, have you ever been to Canada before? And your guy's gonna be like, yeah, I'm not going there either now because I'm going to Milwaukee. But
it is so awkward.
So, I know it's so weird, but I'll say the couple other caveats here. The report the day before this Giannis Raptors stuff came out was Toronto is looking to make a big move. Like that was the one big report. Toronto's looking to make a big move. Then then this came out. This did come out. The place this originated from was Doug Smith, who's a writer for the Toronto Star newspaper. So some are kind of, oh yeah, he's wish casting a little, right? He's trying to, connect dots that maybe aren't there. But again, these are not like Brian Windhorst said, maybe Giannis could go to Boston. And then I got flooded with, how did the Celtics get Giannis? I'm like, I mean, there's ways, but like, it just seems kind of like, okay, I guess maybe. If he really was like, I want to stay East, like, then sure, I guess. But there's some where it's like, it's not even worth discussing. This one does make a lot more sense and seems a lot more realistic.
Yeah. It does seem to be a more realistic one. Yeah, look, I'm sure the Raptors will have interest, but I do think there's a little bit of that too. When a report comes out saying they're looking to make a big move, the immediate question from everyone is, well, who is it?
Yeah.
Right. And so there is that void of
Yeah.
information that is looking to be filled. And, maybe there's something to that. Hey, a guy they could look at is Giannis. The next thing you know, these things take legs and off you go. But all right, Keith, let's get into this. Our NBA Finals predictions.
We have actual basketball to talk about.
Yeah, the Thunder and the Pacers. First of all, let me say this,
which we both picked preseason, as we did. I mean, we're spot on with that, so good by us.
Well, half of it anyway.
Yeah.
I picked the Thunder, but the Pacers not so much. But let me say this: there's the immediate aftermath of a few days ago when it was okay, it's going to be Thunder Pacers. Was the ratings are going to be awful. Oh, this sucks. The ratings are terrible. The ratings are terrible. Right? All this kind of stuff, and it's just being used to like take shots at these two teams. Yeah. Nobody's going to watch this. Let me say this, and by the way, I don't expect this to be anybody who's watching this show. If you're watching this show right now, I know I'm not talking about you. Okay. But by definition, you know who's not going to watch these finals? Casuals. And I know this become a derogatory term, and I don't like that it has, because does the NBA care about casuals? Yes. Does the NBA care that the finals might be, not as highly rated as they would like? Yes. But I'm going to let Adam Silver worry about that, because real ones, if you really love basketball, if you are not in that casual category where you get excited by the bright, shiny lights of, the big market or the top tier star, you want to go see Giannis, you want to see, whoever it is that you want to see. This, I think, has the potential to be a very, very exciting series and a very fun series. I mean, you look at what the Pacers have done, right? They have now made the impossible routine, right? These comebacks that they're launching are absolutely insane. Some of the most incredible, and they've done it, 3 times, I think, in just these playoffs, that they've launched comebacks that you would say could never, ever, ever happen. And they've done it 3 times already. And then the people that complain about, they don't play defense in today's NBA anymore, and it's not physical anymore. I give you the Thunder, who are super physical. And then people say they're too physical because we have to complain about everything. This series, I think, is going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be exciting. I think it's 2 teams that are very, very good and very, very talented. So I don't really want to hear like the rating stuff. I'm going to let Adam Silver worry about that, because those of us that love basketball, we're going to get, I think, a good basketball series here.
Yep. Let me hit on a couple things with the ratings. The best response I saw to this, and I wish I could remember who it was, but somebody tweeted, people who complain about NBA ratings act like them and the NBA share a joint bank account. Like, why does anybody care that isn't the NBA or the TV partners? And you want to know how much they care? They care to the tune of billions of dollars of TV contracts and media rights deals. And they also have very much realized, I think, more early than any other sport, people don't always consume sports in the traditional way of sitting down in front of their television through cable or legacy media. There's a lot more streaming now that happens. There's a lot of other stuff. So that's part one. Why do you care? You've got no stake in this. Then the other thing is people are like, but they're boring cities. Well, you're not going. So
you're not going to the city.
Who cares? Right. And I saw so many of the same people are making those statements. The same ones saying, stop showing Ben Stiller and Timothy Chalamet on my TV. Like, I don't want to see them anymore. Well, that's what you get if the Knicks are in it. That's what you get if the Lakers are in it, or the Heat, one of the glamour markets. Like, you get the here's courtside and all the celebrities that root for these teams. And I don't have any problem with it. Whatever, they're on the screen for 10 seconds. It's when they start showing them over and over and over. And it's like, all right, if we start missing plays, it's like, come on now. Like, we're here to watch this. Put that on ESPN, the Ocho, the celeb cam, and can watch their reactions to this stuff. But so that's the part that's funny to me is people are like, those are the two most boring cities. Well, you're not traveling, so what do you care? Like, it doesn't, what difference does it make? You're not, you're living it through it virtually. To the basketball part, it's going to be an awesome series. I did not understand, I guess, fully the Thunder. The betting markets were very heavily favored towards the Thunder. The just analysis that's been coming out has been Thunder, going to roll them. They're going to kill them. I think it's going to be a close competitive series that's going to be long. I don't think it's going to be over in 4 or 5 games and the Thunder roll them in 4 or 5 games. I think the Pacers have real things that they do that counter Oklahoma City's strengths in very real and important ways. And I think that's going to make this a competitive and longer series than what people think.
Yeah, I think it can wind up being a competitive, longer series. As much as I just talked about how great of a series this can be, it's not going to be my prediction because I do think that there is an element true. Far be it from me to agree with Nico Harrison, but I do think that there's some element of defense winning championships. And I've been falling in with what the advanced metrics are telling us about this Thunder team all season and all playoffs. And the metrics are still the same in the playoffs. There's a big gap between the Thunder and just about everybody else when we look at the playoff stats. I'm still going to lean towards the Thunder, but I think there is real potential here, particularly with how shaky the Thunder have looked at times down the stretch. There's other times where the Thunder just push down on the gas pedal and then run away with games. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I could definitely see where a couple of games, maybe more, maybe this thing even goes 7, where the Pacers, with their just, it's like they're in Mario Brothers and they get the superstar, right? Like, where next thing you know, like, they're just unstoppable for a period of like a minute and a 16-point lead is erased, right? And it just suddenly, next thing you know, oh my God, they're winning. Like, that could happen a couple of times in this series. It's not what I'm predicting for my official prediction, but I hope that my official prediction is wrong and we wind up getting a 6 or a 7 game series here.
Yeah, I said wish casting earlier in the show, and maybe I'm wish casting a little because at max we've got 7 games left in this season, and I would love 7 more games of NBA basketball this year. But I just think the Thunder, they're better than any team I can remember at flipping a 5-point deficit to a 15-point lead. And it happens in the blink of an eye. What I've been saying is you get up to go get a drink, you come back, and it's like, what happened? It's a completely different game than when I walked away. They also, like you said, they're super physical, and how they flip those games, they get out there, they get real handsy on the perimeter, they start deflecting passes and dribbles, and next thing you know, it's live ball turnover, run out, dunk, and the crowd's going crazy in Oklahoma City, and the game's completely flipped and over. Indiana's really good with the way they handle the ball. They rarely play without 2, 3, or even 4 ball handlers on the court at a time. They always have outlets. They've got guys who can get out of, emergency situations where it's like, find the guy and go make a play. So I think that's good. That's one of those counters to what Oklahoma City does really, really well. Indiana is a far better defensive team than I think a lot of people realize. And they really improved as the year went along. They've got like Andrew Nembhard, TJ McConnell, that they're just going to throw on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at times and say, deal with this for 94 feet, dude. And one of the big problems the Thunder have, they don't have a lot of other on-ball guys. They don't have a ton of on-ball juice that can bring the ball up and make plays. So now we're in a spot where, all right, they can kind of counter these things. My official prediction is Thunder in 6.
Okay.
It feels, I'm closer to Thunder in 5 only because I don't know about winning on the road in Indiana, because that is a really good home court. But the Thunder, they've now played big games on the road and done well. So that's where I'm leaning right now. It's Thunder in 6, but I'm hopeful it ends up being a 7 game series.
As Stu the Studio Cat is making his appearance here,
We
demanding
haven't seen
attention.
him in a week, so we're
Yeah,
happy to have him.
he's like, I have to, get my 15
Yeah,
minutes of fame.
let people
So
know.
I am gonna go Thunder in 5. And that's because I think the gap between the Thunder's offense and the Pacers offense, the Pacers are the better offensive team, but I think the gap between the Thunder's offense and the Pacers offense is not as big as the gap between the Thunder's defense and the Pacers defense. And so that's
Yeah,
ultimately gonna have me going there. Now, and that's not to say Indiana's a bad defensive team. They're not. The Thunder are
the
just
Thunder are
that good.
historically good. Yeah,
Exactly. The Thunder are just that good defensively. And I think that will ultimately make the difference in this series. And that's why I'm going Thunder in 5. But my hope is that we do see a little bit of fourth quarter shakiness. Now, the Thunder will say that their build up to this point has taught them things, and they've worked through some things and they've fixed some things, which may very well be true. But my hope is that we do see a little bit of that fourth quarter shakiness from the Thunder. Indiana is able to capitalize. They go Super Mario mode, and we wind up with a 6-7 game series. But I think the most likely outcome for me, it's Thunder in 5.
Yeah, I'm with you. Would not be surprising. I just think Indiana's gonna. I think they're gonna do some stuff. I'll close with this: if Jalen Williams is not a top 4 player in this series, the Thunder are in trouble. They need him to be awesome. They need him to be. We know SGA, Halliburton, and Siakam are all gonna do their thing. They need Jalen Williams to be the All NBA guy that he was this year. Be that good. He was not earlier in the playoffs. We're only a month away from being like, I don't know, is Jalen Williams really like good enough to be that guy? And now he's really answered those questions in the Denver series and then in the Wolves series. I think everybody's like, okay, like we're there now, we're good, but they need him to be awesome in this. I'm just super excited. It's been also like it's been too many days already without NBA hoops. Like I'm just ready to get back at it.
Definitely. What to get back at it, but then like, man, it's such a change to go from we're watching the finals and then a few weeks later we're watching Summer League.
Yeah.
And I don't get me wrong, I love Summer League.
Sure.
But boy, it's like a different sport that you're watching when you go from locked in NBA finals team to watching Summer League ball. It is so different. But then it gets even more depressing when we get to Summer League ends. And then we've got to wait till October for basketball to come back.
You got Eurobasket this year.
We'll have Eurobasket. We'll have Eurobasket.
We will have that. That'll be easier for me than anybody on the West Coast because it's going to be on early in the morning. But but we do have Eurobasket. That'll be fun. WNBA is really good this year. I've picked the WNBA team. I'm all in on the Lynx.
Okay,
that's my team. Yeah. I'm going to be all in on them. Nafisa Collier is that she. I just love the way she plays. So that's the team I'm going all in on.
All right. There it is. Rolling with the Lynx. I like it. Do you remember the old gaming system back in the day? The Atari Lynx?
Yeah.
Remember that? That was the am I right? Was it the Lynx?
Something like that. I don't know. We have the bus service in Orlando is called Lynx Bus. Like that's like city bus service. So that's what comes to mind for me.
I was right. It was the Lynx.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Do you remember that? It's handheld gaming systems, man. These kids who have these switches and all that, they don't know what we.
Yeah. I remember the Sega
Game Boy with a
and the Game Boy. Yeah, the little screen, the green and black. Screen. Yep.
Yeah, I was watching. I think I saw it on Facebook or something. Somebody was like me playing Bulls versus Blazers, and like, look how great the graphics are. This is so realistic. Back in the 90s. And it was like, now you watch some of these games. I'm like, am I watching a game or is this real? Like, what is happening here? So, yeah.
Come a long way. A long way.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you very much for joining the show. We appreciate all of you. Make sure that you do subscribe. Give us your thoughts on the finals, your predictions in the comment section down below if you're on YouTube, or give us a 5-star rating and review and let us know your finals prediction in the review portion over on Apple Podcasts. Again, thank you, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow with more NBA goodness. Till then, see ya and stay safe.